house of horror. Childhood is supposed to be a time of joy and imagination, a safe place where kids feel loved and secure. But for some, it's the opposite, a place filled with fear and pain, where terrible things happen behind closed doors. This is indeed the case for the 7 children of Shane and Crystal Robertson. 7 innocent lives treated worse than animals, trapped in a world where love was twisted into torment. Welcome to New Crime by Bad Things. In this episode, we'll be looking at a very disturbing case of child neglect and bad parenting. Viewer discretion is advised, as this is not for the faint-hearted. The 911 call. On April 23, 2023, the Penridge Regional Police Department shared this note. At approximately 1:30 p.m., officers responded to the 800 block of Roseanne Lane for a report of 2 juveniles entering an abandoned trailer. Upon further investigation, it was determined that the children resided in a home nearby. Bucks County Children and Youth responded to address concerns of the officers on scene, resulting in 7 children being taken into protective custody. As you've probably guessed, this note only scratches the surface. It was a neighbor and mother of 4, Tammy DeHaven, who made the call to the authorities. She became concerned when she spotted a seemingly malnourished child trying to break into an abandoned trailer. When officers arrived at the trailer home at approximately 1:30 p.m. on April 23rd, they found a barefoot 12-year-old girl in the front yard. They asked her what was going on, and her response was unusual. She immediately started to defend her parents, placing the blame on herself. She told the officers that her parents had instructed the children not to go over to the abandoned trailer, and insisted that her parents should not be held responsible. Even at this point, one could sense the fear she had of her mother and father. The next thing she said raised the officers' eyebrows even more. The young girl explained that she had only gone into the abandoned trailer to retrieve a blanket to keep her rats warm, as her family had no money. At this point, the officers began to sense that something was seriously off. Shortly after, another girl, 14 years old, emerged, wearing large work boots too big for her feet and clothing that appeared dirty. She admitted to entering the abandoned trailer as well and informed the responders that the parents were not home. It was now time to get to the bottom of this. The officers contacted the Robertsons and requested that they return. 30 minutes later, Shane and Crystal Robertson arrived and, somewhat surprisingly, allowed the officers to inspect the residence due to concerns about the 2 girls' health. What came next shook them to the core. The crime scene. From the outside, the trailer looked fairly normal. Some junk here and there, but nothing too unusual. However, as soon as the officers stepped inside, nothing seemed normal anymore. According to them, the trailer was in a state of obvious disrepair and disarray. Both the walls and floors had started to disintegrate, and it's safe to say that the air didn't smell like soap or freshly baked croissants. It didn't take long before they encountered another girl, a 16-year-old who appeared unkempt. The father, Shane, reportedly told the police that she was their last daughter. This, of course, was a lie, possibly indicating that he was beginning to realize he was in trouble. And soon, things got even worse. While inspecting the kitchen area, the officers made another disturbing discovery. The family's refrigerator was secured with a bicycle lock. Why would anyone lock up their fridge like that? They questioned the parents, and while Shane seemed to realize he was in trouble, his wife appeared oblivious to the situation. Crystal explained that the children were stealing everything and referred to them as garbage disposals with legs, according to the affidavit. Startled by what they had seen, the officers took action. They filed a Childline report. Childline is a part of a state program that handles reports of child abuse and other concerns about the children's well-being, quickly forwarding the information to the appropriate agency for investigation. The agency that received the call was Bucks County Children and Youth, who visited the Robertsons' trailer almost immediately. From there, things took another turn for the worse. It was now 5 p.m. The officers had barely returned to the station when they received a call from the Bucks County Children and Youth worker. The news was both bad and disturbing. The 3 girls they had met earlier were not even half of the children in the family. The worker had discovered 3 more girls, ages 4, 8, and 10, and a 6-year-old boy hiding in a back room. The officers immediately returned to the scene, and it's fair to assume they were even more alert this time. Outside the home, they were met by Shane Robertson. He admitted that he had 7 children, but hadn't mentioned it earlier because he did not want to get in any trouble, according to the report. After assessing the conditions of all 7 children, authorities transported them to a hospital for evaluation. They were safe for now. The investigation. It was quite obvious that something was wrong with the Robertson children. But upon learning how bad things really were, one begins to realize just how dark this case truly is. According to the affidavit, 6 of the 7 children were found to be clinically malnourished, with 2 testing positive for COVID-19. Additionally, 2 children had low kidney function, while the remaining 3 had fevers and were diagnosed with acute viral syndrome. The Robertsons cared for their children so poorly that, even a week after being removed from the home, the 12-year-old girl was still found to have maggots in her matted hair. It didn't stop there. As authorities continued to search the residence, they uncovered even more disturbing evidence of the horrifying conditions the children had endured. According to the documents, Shane and Crystal's bedroom was dominated by a bed surrounded by several animal cages. The sheets appeared as though they hadn't been washed in weeks, if not months. The floor was littered with garbage, and the walls were riddled with holes. Another bedroom was even more disturbing, with feces found near the entrance. At the center of the room lay a filthy mattress covered with a dirty blanket. The space also housed about 24 rats in 2 separate cages. Ironically, it might have been these rats that, in the end, somehow saved the children, as we recall the 12-year-old daughter looking for a blanket to keep her rats warm when the police first found her. Authorities also discovered a variety of other animals, including 2 dogs, 2 turtles, 2 rabbits, snakes, toads, and a 4-foot reptile known as a tegu, in addition to the rats, as outlined in the documents. Investigators noted that the only notable food located in the home was for the animals. The tegu lizard, called Boudin, even had its own TikTok account, where it was fed fresh salmon, much better food than the children received. As police examined the trailer, they found no cleaning or hygiene products, such as soap or toothpaste. The state of the home was so appalling that Crystal Robertson admitted to the investigators that she had fallen through the floor in her bedroom just a few months earlier. It wasn't just physical neglect. The children were also in poor shape mentally. According to the report, none of the 7 children had any formal education, and all lacked basic knowledge. Some of the children did not know their own birth dates, and 4 of them suffer from speech impediments. Investigators also revealed that all of the children struggle with reading, writing, and spelling, adding that they displayed social anxiety and shared that they did not like being in public or around other people. Shane and Crystal were booked into Bucks County Jail on May 19, 2023, but were released the following day after posting 10% of their $10,000 bond, according to court documents. However, new charges were filed on September 25th, and just when it seemed it couldn't get worse, it did. Even though it should be no surprise at this point, interviews with the children revealed severe physical abuse by Shane and Crystal. If you want to see the affidavit for yourself, we'll add a link in the description. In the following section, JV1 refers to the oldest daughter, JV2 to the second oldest, and so on, down to JV7, who refers to the youngest. JV6 is the boy. The eldest child reportedly told authorities that her father punched her in the face in February, causing her nose to bleed. When she tried to escape, Shane Robertson allegedly chased her and dragged her back to the house by her hair, all in front of her siblings. JV2 told police that both Shane and Crystal Robertson beat us up. She stated that her father, Shane Robertson, was more physically abusive than her mother, Crystal Robertson, but that both parents would hit and injure the children. She also said that her mother beat her with her father's belt. The same daughter also mentioned that her father once threatened to suffocate her. According to court documents, JV2 reported that Shane and Crystal were arguing, and Crystal told Shane, "Do whatever you want. Kill them if you want." Shane then took a brown, fluffy blanket and pressed it tightly over JV2's face, making it difficult for her to breathe. Police noted that other siblings recalled hearing their sister struggling to breathe. And there's more. The same daughter also told police that her father once handed her a knife and instructed her to go into the bathroom and stab herself. On another occasion, she said, he told her to take her own life behind a shed on the property. The parents also punched their children in the face, leaving them with black eyes. And the list goes on. JV3 described one incident in or around September of 2022, when JV2 and JV3 took one of the family dogs outside, and the dog was ultimately struck by a car. The affidavit continued. Shane and Crystal hit both JV2 and JV3, leaving welts. The mother would threaten to kill the children's pet rats, and Shane abused the siblings basically our whole lives, JV3 said. There would be times when Crystal would leave while Shane was beating the children, and Crystal would tell Shane to have at it, JV3 told police, adding that JV6, the couple's only son, was beaten the worst. JV3 alleged that both parents used cords or anything within their reach to strike the children, including their own hands. JV4 recalled the starving children being beaten with cords, a belt, and hands when they took food from a refrigerator or their mother's purse. As a result of the children stealing the food, Shane would beat them. The affidavit said JV4 reported that these beatings would leave red marks and JV6 would get welts. The girl said that her father hit both her and her younger brother in the face. JV5 said, "We got beat by Daddy and Mommy a lot," but she mentioned that her siblings were hit harder than she was. JV5 described Shane leaving big red marks on JV6 after beating him. JV5 also described Shane striking JV2 with a cord and leaving a red mark, the affidavit concluded. The children have since been placed in foster care following their rescue from the home. The trial and aftermath. With the children severely malnourished and the refrigerator locked away from them, authorities concluded that the Robertsons cared more for their animals than for their own kids. Common Pleas Judge Charissa J. Liller echoed this sentiment, describing them as two of the worst parents I've ever seen in my life. Addressing them at sentencing, the judge stated, "It is appalling that you would live in these conditions with your 7 children. You treated your animals better than you treated your children. You kept them caged up like animals, but you weren't even treating them as well. Prosecutors highlighted Crystal Robertson's social media presence, where she mentioned the TikTok account for the family's tegu lizard, Boudin. In early 2024, the Robertsons pleaded guilty to 7 felony counts of child endangerment and 6 summary counts of animal neglect. On August 20th, 2024, a judge sentenced the couple to up to 16 years in a state correctional institution where they will undergo a mental health evaluation as well as drug and alcohol treatment. The judge also ordered that they have no contact with their children until the children turn 18, and only with the approval of a court-appointed therapist. Here's hoping that the children can now live better lives and break free from their childhood trauma.